Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the space station orbiting Earth, watching something that should not exist. Massive ships hung in the darkness above his home planet like giant metal clouds. Each one was bigger than any city he had ever seen. They had appeared 3 hours ago without warning, without sound, without any sign they were coming. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," Amy Rodriguez said from her post at the communications desk. Her voice shook a little. Jake could not blame her. Everyone was scared. "Put it through the main speakers," Jake ordered. He straightened his uniform and tried to look calm for his crew. The voice that filled the bridge was cold and strange. It did not sound human at all. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been observed. You are dangerous, you fight too much, you spread chaos wherever you go. This cannot continue." Jake felt his jaw tighten. He had heard enough alien contact theories to know this was not going the way anyone had hoped. The alien voice continued. "We give you 30 of your days to surrender. You will move to the zones we choose for you. You will give up your weapons. You will stop building ships that can travel between stars. If you refuse, we will remove you from this galaxy by force." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the station's systems. "Get me General Frank Turner on Mars," Jake said, "and Dr. Lisa Park at the research station. We need to talk right now." Within minutes, both faces appeared on the main screen. General Turner looked angry. His gray hair was messy like he had been running his hands through it. Dr. Park looked worried but was already taking notes on her tablet. "Did you all hear that?" Jake asked. "Every word," Turner replied. "My people are already running numbers. Those ships could turn Earth into dust if they wanted to. We've never seen anything like their technology." Dr. Park spoke up. "I've been analyzing the energy readings from their ships. They're using some kind of power source we don't understand. But here's what's interesting. They're not trying to hide from us. They want us to see how powerful they are." "That's a threat display," Jake said. "They're trying to scare us into giving up without a fight." "Well, it's working on a lot of people," Turner said grimly. "Half the government wants to surrender, right now. They think we don't have a chance." Jake looked out at the alien ships again. They sat there like sleeping giants, waiting. "What do you think, Lisa? Do we have any chance at all?" Dr. Park was quiet for a moment. "Maybe. These aliens made one big mistake already." "What's that?" "They're talking to us instead of just destroying us. That means they either can't wipe us out as easily as they want us to think, or they need something from us. Either way, it gives us time to figure out what we're dealing with." Over the next few hours, reports came in from around the solar system. The aliens had ships near Mars, Jupiter, and even out by the asteroid mining stations. But they weren't attacking. They were just watching and waiting. Jake called a meeting with all the senior officers and scientists he could reach. They gathered in the station's main conference room, faces appearing on screens from across the solar system. "All right, people," Jake began. "We have a problem, but we also have 30 days to solve it. I want ideas." Colonel Kate Walsh appeared on screen from the military base on Luna. "Sir, I've been thinking about what Dr. Park said. If these aliens are so advanced, why give us a month? Why not just take what they want?" "Good question," Jake replied. "Lisa, what's your take?" Dr. Park had been studying readouts from sensors all across the solar system. "I think they underestimate us. Look at their approach. They showed up, made demands, and now they're just sitting there. It's like they expect us to roll over like trained dogs." Sam Brooks, speaking from the underground facility on Earth, added his thoughts. "My networks are reporting something else. These aliens are scanning our cities, our factories, our spaceports, but they're not scanning the old mining tunnels or the abandoned stations. They're looking for obvious targets." Jake felt something click in his mind. They see what they expect to see. Big cities, military bases, obvious space installations. They think like an empire that's used to conquering simple enemies. "Exactly," Dr. Park said with growing excitement. "They're not looking for hidden resources or backup systems. They think in terms of central control. Take out the government and military headquarters, and the whole species gives up." General Turner leaned forward on his screen. Are you saying we might be able to fool them? Maybe, Jake said slowly. If we're very careful and very smart about it. Amy Rodriguez had been quiet during the meeting, but now she spoke up. Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. They're not even encrypting most of their signals. It's like they don't think we're smart enough to listen in. Jake stood up and walked to the window again. The alien ship still hung there, dark and waiting, but now they didn't look quite as scary. They looked overconfident. All right, here's what we're going to do, he said, turning back to the screens. We're going to give them exactly what they expect to see. Scared humans getting ready to surrender. Meanwhile, we prepare for the fight of our lives. The meeting broke up with everyone having assignments. As the screens went dark one by one, Jake remained at the window. 30 days wasn't very long, but it might be enough. The aliens had made their first mistake by underestimating humanity. Jake just hoped it wouldn't be their last. 2 weeks had passed since the alien ultimatum. On Earth's surface, long lines of people waited at transport stations with their bags and belongings. They looked scared and defeated. News cameras showed families saying goodbye to their homes. The world's leaders gave speeches about cooperation and peaceful surrender. But Sam Brooks knew it was all an act. He stood in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York City, watching dozens of people work at computer stations and equipment tables. None of them appeared on any official records. As far as the aliens knew, these people had already moved to the surrender zones. Status report, Sam said to Maria Santos, who had just returned from a scouting mission. The aliens are buying it completely, Maria replied, pulling off her helmet. They're not even bothering to scan the areas where people supposedly evacuated from. They see empty buildings and think we're gone. Above ground, the evacuation was real enough to fool anyone watching. Millions of people had indeed left the major cities, but they hadn't gone where the aliens thought. Instead of surrender zones, they had moved to hidden facilities that humanity had been building in secret for years. Colonel Kate Walsh emerged from a side tunnel, her uniform dirty from crawling through maintenance shafts. I just got back from the alien outpost they set up outside Washington. You were right, Sam. They're not soldiers. They're administrators. Explain, Sam said, though he suspected he knew what she meant. They move like people who have never had to fight for anything. Everything they do follows exact procedures. When something unexpected happens, they stop and wait for orders from their ship. Kate pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. I also brought back a gift. Sam looked at the alien technology. It was some kind of communication device, sleek and silver with symbols he couldn't read. Please tell me you didn't just steal that. Better. One of their guards dropped it during a shift change. They didn't even notice it was missing. I've been listening to their chatter for 6 hours. Dr. Ben Carter appeared from behind a bank of computers, his face excited. Kate, you're going to love this. I've been studying the debris from their demonstration attacks 2 weeks ago. Their shielding technology isn't as advanced as we thought. Ben led them to a workbench where pieces of alien metal lay scattered around human tools. Look at this. Their shields work by deflecting energy in straight lines, but if you hit them from multiple angles at the same time, they fail. Sam picked up one of the metal fragments. It was lighter than it looked and felt warm to the touch. Can we use this? Already am, Ben replied with a grin. I've built 3 prototype shield generators using their principles. They're not as good as the alien versions, but they work. Maria Santos had been quiet during the technical discussion, but now she spoke up. We need to test them. I volunteer to take the first flight. Absolutely not, Sam said immediately. If the aliens detect you, this whole operation falls apart. Then what do you suggest? We can't win this war with computer simulations. Kate Walsh looked up from the alien communication device. Actually, we might have an opportunity. According to their chatter, they're planning to inspect the evacuation zones next week. They want to make sure we're really living where they told us to live. That's perfect, Sam said, understanding immediately. We let them see exactly what they expect to see, while testing our new toys somewhere else entirely. Over the next few days, the hidden network expanded their deception. In the official evacuation zones, actors played the role of surrendered humans, They lived in simple shelters and acted scared whenever alien patrols came by. The aliens looked, confirmed that humans were following orders, and left satisfied. Meanwhile, in secret bases scattered across the solar system, the real work continued. Dr. Lisa Park had moved her entire research team to a hidden facility inside an asteroid. She worked day and night to understand alien technology. "I've figured out how their faster-than-light communication works," she told Jake Morrison during one of their coded transmissions. "They use something like quantum entanglement, but much more advanced. The good news is that it has a weakness." "What kind of weakness?" Jake asked from his position on the supposedly disabled space station. "All their communications go through central hubs on their command ships. If you can disable the hub, the entire fleet loses contact with each other. They become deaf and blind." Jake felt a surge of hope. How hard would it be to disable one of those hubs? Hard, but not impossible. You'd need to get very close to their command ship and hit it with a targeted electromagnetic pulse. Amy Rodriguez had been listening to the conversation from her station. "Sir, I might have a way to do that. I've been studying their patrol patterns. There's a 2-hour window every night when their main command ship is alone while the others refuel." Jake looked out at the alien fleet. For 2 weeks they had seemed invincible. Now they were starting to look vulnerable. "How many ships do we have ready for combat?" "Officially? None," replied Colonel Walsh over the comm. "Unofficially? About 200 small craft with the new shield technology. They're not much to look at, but they can pack a punch." Sam Brooks added his own numbers. "Ground forces are harder to count since we don't officially exist anymore, but I'd estimate we have about 50,000 people ready to fight across all the colonies. And they have no idea any of us exist," Jake said with growing confidence. The next few days were crucial. The aliens continued their inspections of the surrender zones. Each time they found exactly what they expected: defeated humans living quietly under alien supervision. The humans even put on little shows for them, acting grateful for alien mercy and protection. But in the hidden bases, preparation for war continued at full speed. Ships were equipped with hybrid human-alien technology. Weapons were tested and distributed. Communication networks were established using old equipment the aliens considered too primitive to bother monitoring. Most importantly, they waited. The aliens had given humanity 30 days to surrender. As that deadline approached, the Zephyrians grew more confident and relaxed. Their patrols became routine. Their guards got lazy. Their commanders spent more time celebrating their easy victory than watching for threats. With 5 days left until the deadline, Jake Morrison called a final meeting of all resistance leaders. "Everyone knows their assignments," he said to the collection of faces on hidden screens throughout the solar system. "In 5 days, we show these aliens what happens when you underestimate humanity." Dr. Park spoke from her asteroid laboratory. "All technical preparations are complete. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Colonel Walsh reported from Earth. "Ground teams are in position. The aliens won't know what hit them." Sam Brooks nodded from his underground command center. "The deception has worked perfectly. They think we're beaten. Tomorrow we prove them wrong." Jake looked around at his team one final time. In 5 days, humanity would either win its freedom or face extinction. But for the first time since the aliens arrived, he believed they had a real chance. The 30th day arrived with clear skies over Earth. Commander Vextal stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the planet below. Everything had gone exactly as planned. The humans had surrendered without firing a single shot. Their leaders had cooperated. Their people had moved to the designated zones like obedient animals. "Status report," Vextal ordered his second-in-command. "All human settlements are contained, Commander. Our inspectors confirm they are living peacefully in the assigned areas. No signs of resistance or hidden weapons." Vextal nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Begin the final phase. Send word to the Empire that Earth is secured. We can start moving the humans to the outer colonies next week." But at that exact moment, Admiral Rick Stone was giving very different orders from inside a hollowed-out asteroid near Jupiter. "All units, this is command. Operation Payback begins now. Repeat. Operation Payback is a go. Across the solar system, hundreds of small human ships powered up their engines. They had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind moons, and inside the rings of Saturn for weeks. The aliens had never detected them because they were using old-style engines that produced very little heat or radiation. Captain Maya Johnson was the first to break cover. Her ship emerged from behind Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, followed by 20 others. They accelerated toward the alien supply convoy that had just arrived from deep space. "Target the escort ships first," Maya ordered her weapons officer. "Remember, we need those supply ships intact." The alien escorts never saw them coming. Maya's ships were using the new hybrid shield technology that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. By the time the aliens realized they were under attack, it was too late. Back on Earth, Tony Garcia sat in his underground computer center, fingers flying across multiple keyboards. He had spent weeks learning how alien computer systems worked. Now it was time to put that knowledge to use. "Initiating cyber attack," he announced to Sam Brooks, who stood behind him watching dozens of screens. "Their command network is completely open. They don't even use passwords." On the screens, alien command ships began losing contact with their patrol vessels. Navigation systems started giving wrong directions. Weapon targeting systems began aiming at empty space instead of targets. "It's working," Tony said with amazement. "They built their whole system assuming no one would ever try to hack it. They have no defenses at all." Meanwhile, Colonel Kate Walsh led her ground assault team toward the main alien outpost outside Washington. They moved through the old subway, tunnels carrying weapons that mixed human and alien technology. "Remember, we need prisoners," Kate told her team as they reached the final tunnel. "Dr. Susan Lee wants to study their psychology, and we need information about their fleet positions." The assault was swift and brutal. The alien guards were still following their regular patrol schedule, never suspecting that the defeated humans might attack them. Within 30 minutes, Kate's team had captured the entire outpost without losing a single person. Up in space, the real surprise was just beginning. Admiral Stone watched his tactical display as human ships appeared from everywhere at once. The aliens had been so confident that they hadn't even bothered to keep their fleet in battle formation. "All ships target their command vessels," Stone ordered. "Hit them with everything we've got." Dr. Lisa Park's electromagnetic pulse weapons worked perfectly. The alien command ships lost power one by one as human attack craft swarmed around them like angry bees. Without their central command network, the alien fleet began to fall apart. On the alien flagship, Commander Vextal stared at his displays in shock. Half his fleet was offline. Ground forces weren't responding. Supply lines had been cut. And somehow, impossible as it seemed, the humans had built a fleet of warships without anyone noticing. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his officers. "Our scouts reported no military construction, no weapons factories, no shipyards." His science officer looked up from his station with fear in his eyes. "Commander, they hid everything. Our sensors show massive facilities inside asteroids, on the dark sides of moons, even in the gas clouds around Saturn. They've been building this fleet for years." Captain Steve Davis chose that moment to make his entrance. His ship, equipped with the most advanced human-alien hybrid technology, appeared directly in front of the alien flagship. It was smaller than the alien vessel, but packed with new weapons that the aliens had never seen before. "Alien Commander," Steve's voice came over the communication channel. "This is Captain Davis of the Human Defense Force. You demanded our surrender 30 days ago. We decline. Surrender your fleet, or we will destroy it." Vextal was so surprised he almost forgot to respond. When he finally spoke, his voice shook with rage. "Impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot challenge the Zephyrian Empire." "Watch us," Steve replied, and opened fire. The battle lasted only 6 hours. The aliens had superior individual ships, but they had been caught completely off guard. Their fleet was scattered, their communications were jammed, and their commanders had no experience fighting an enemy that refused to follow the rules. By sunset on Earth, it was over. Most of the alien fleet was captured or destroyed. The survivors were in full retreat, sending desperate messages to the Zephyrian Empire asking for reinforcements. Sam Brooks stood in his command center, watching reports come in from across the solar system. "Casualty report?" he asked Maria. "Santos. Light on our side," she replied. "We lost maybe 50 ships and a few hundred people. The aliens lost over half their fleet." Dr. Susan Lee appeared on one of the communication screens. "I've been interviewing the alien prisoners. This is fascinating. They're so used to easy victories that they don't know how to adapt when things go wrong. Their whole military doctrine is based on overwhelming technological superiority." Jake Morrison's face appeared on another screen. "Which means they're going to come back with everything they've got. This was just the first round." Admiral Stone nodded grimly. "Our intelligence suggests the main Zephyrian fleet has over 1,000 ships. What we faced today was just an advance force." "Then we'd better get ready for round 2, Sam said. "But at least now they know we're not going to roll over and play dead." Amy Rodriguez had been monitoring alien communications throughout the battle. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions between the surviving alien ships and their home fleet. They're calling us the aggressive species and requesting immediate military reinforcement." Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. "Good. Let them be scared for a change. We've got work to do." As night fell over Earth, the human resistance celebrated their first victory. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start. 3 months after the first battle, the Zephyrian Empire returned with a vengeance. Over 800 alien warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. This time, they were not here to demand surrender. They came to destroy humanity completely. Commander Alex Chen watched the massive alien fleet approach from his hidden base in the asteroid belt. His deep space guerrilla units had been preparing for this moment since the first victory. Unlike the previous alien force, these ships moved in tight formations and scanned everything carefully. They learned their lesson, Alex told his crew aboard the modified mining ship that served as his flagship. "No more careless patrols or lazy guards. This is going to be much harder." But humanity had been learning too. Dr. Rachel Morgan emerged from her laboratory deep inside Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt. She carried a container that looked innocent but held something that could change the entire war. "The biological agent is ready," she told Alex over their secure communication link. "It won't kill them, but it will make them very sick. Sick enough that they can't fight effectively." Alex studied the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. "How do we get it to them?" "That's the beautiful part," Rachel replied with a grim smile. "They breathe oxygen just like we do. All we have to do is get it into their air supply." Meanwhile, Captain Steve Davis was leading the first human ship equipped with fully integrated alien-human hybrid technology. His vessel looked like nothing anyone had seen before, combining the best of both civilizations' engineering. More importantly, it could move and fight like an alien ship while being completely controlled by human tactics. "Enemy fleet is splitting into 3 groups," his tactical officer reported. "One group heading for Earth, one for Mars, and one staying back to guard their supply ships." Steve smiled. The aliens were thinking like an empire again, trying to control territory instead of adapting to their enemy. "Perfect. Signal Commander Chen and Captain Johnson. Time to show them what real guerrilla warfare looks like." The human strategy was simple but effective. Instead of meeting the alien fleet in open battle, they would hit and run, strike, and fade, always attacking where the enemy was weakest. Alex Chen struck first. His ships appeared from the asteroid belt like ghosts, hit the alien supply convoy with everything they had, then disappeared back into the rocks before the aliens could respond. But this time, they left behind more than just damage. Rachel Morgan's biological agent had been loaded into special warheads that broke open inside alien ships, spreading the sickness through their air systems. Within hours, alien crews throughout the fleet began falling ill. It started with headaches and dizziness, then got worse. Soon, many aliens could barely stand at their control stations. Captain Maya Johnson led the Colonial Strike Force in a series of attacks that cut off alien communication lines. Her ships used new stealth technology to get close to alien relay stations, destroy them, then vanish before reinforcements could arrive. Status report, Maya asked her communications officer after their latest strike. Alien fleet coordination is breaking down, came the reply. They can't talk to each other across long distances anymore. Each group is operating independently. But the aliens were not giving up. The group heading for Earth was still massive and dangerous. They began bombarding the planet from orbit, not caring about the millions of humans they thought were living in the surrender zones. Lieutenant Emma Wright was stationed on one of the captured alien ships that humans had been using to spy on. Enemy communications. What she heard made her blood run cold. "Sir," she reported to Jake Morrison, "they're planning to destroy all life on Earth. They don't want to rule us anymore. They want us completely gone." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 6 hours before they finish. Positioning their ships for planetary bombardment." That was when the real surprise came. As the alien fleet prepared to destroy Earth, ships began appearing from everywhere around the planet. But these were not human ships. They were vessels from other species that the Zephyrian Empire had conquered years ago. The first to decloak was a sleek vessel crewed by the Andromedans, a species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians for over a century. Their captain spoke directly to Jake Morrison. "Human commander, we have watched your fight with great interest. You have shown us that the Empire can be defeated. We wish to join your rebellion." More ships appeared, the cetaceans from the water worlds, the silicon-based crystalline beings from the asteroid systems, even some former Zephyrian colonies that had declared independence after hearing about humanity's victories. "This is incredible," Amy Rodriguez said from her communication station. "It's like the whole galaxy is rising up against the Empire." The final battle for Earth became something no one had expected. It was not just humans fighting aliens anymore. It was oppressed peoples from across the galaxy fighting together against their common enemy. Steve Davis found himself commanding a mixed fleet of human and alien ships, all working together with surprising effectiveness. The different species brought different strengths to the fight: human creativity, Andromedan speed, cetacean coordination, and crystalline defensive technology. The Zephyrian fleet, already weakened by disease and poor communication, could not adapt to fighting so many different types of enemies at once. Their rigid tactics worked fine against one species at a time, but failed completely against a diverse alliance. Commander Vextal, who had survived the first battle and returned leading this invasion force, found himself trapped above Earth with his fleet falling apart around him. Half his ships were too sick to fight effectively. The other half were being destroyed by enemies attacking from all directions using tactics he had never seen before. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "Signal all ships to withdraw." But it was too late for an organized retreat. Alex Chen's guerrilla units had positioned themselves to cut off escape routes. Many alien ships trying to flee ran straight into ambushes. By the end of the day, the second Zephyrian invasion force was completely destroyed. Only a handful of ships escaped to carry news of the defeat back to the Empire. As the battle ended, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his station, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. Representatives from a dozen different species were requesting permission to join the growing rebellion against Zephyrian rule. "Sir," Amy Rodriguez said, "we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Zephyrian colonies are declaring independence. Their trade routes are being attacked. Some of their own member species are switching sides." Jake nodded slowly. What had started as Earth's fight for survival had become something much bigger. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had somehow become the leaders of the largest rebellion in galactic history. Dr. Rachel Morgan's voice came over the communication system. "The biological agent worked better than expected. We now have samples of Zephyrian biology that we can use to develop more targeted weapons if needed." "Let's hope." "We don't need them," Jake replied. "But keep working. Something tells me this war is far from over." 1 year after the first alien ultimatum, President Helen Davis stood before the Galactic Assembly on the Zephyrian capital world of Nexus Prime. The massive chamber that had once echoed with imperial commands now buzzed with the voices of hundreds of species, all equal participants in the new galactic order. The siege of Nexus Prime had lasted 3 months. But it had not been the bloody conquest that many expected. Instead of destroying the Zephyrian capital, the combined human-alien liberation fleet had surrounded it and waited, cut off from their empire, facing rebellion on every world they once controlled. The Zephyrian leadership had finally agreed to negotiations. Admiral Jake Morrison, now commanding the Galactic Defense Force, sat in the front row watching Helen address the assembly. It was hard to believe that the same woman who had once been Earth's president was now helping to reshape an entire galaxy. "We gather here today not as conquerors, but as liberators," Helen said, her voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber by translation devices. "The age of empire is over. The age of cooperation begins now." In the audience, former Emperor Vextal sat with the other Zephyrian representatives. He looked older than his years, worn down by the collapse of everything he had believed in. Next, to him sat his former prisoners, species that had been enslaved for generations but were now free. Carlos Rivera, who had fought in the underground resistance and now served as Earth's chief diplomat, stood to present the final version of the Galactic Cooperation Accord. The document had taken months to write, with input from every species in the galaxy. "The Accord establishes 3 basic principles," Carlos announced. "First, no species may rule over another without consent. Second, all interstellar conflicts must be resolved through negotiation, not force. Third, technology and resources are to be shared for the benefit of all." Captain Steve Davis watched from the military section as delegates from dozens of worlds voted to accept the accord. His ship, now the flagship of the Integrated Defense Force, was docked at the orbital station above the planet. The crew was a mix of humans and aliens all working together as equals. Commander Zara Kim, who led the first integrated human-alien crew, had just returned from exploring the outer rim of the galaxy. Her mission was to make contact with species that had never been part of the Zephyrian Empire, inviting them to join the new galactic community. "The vote is unanimous," announced the assembly moderator, a crystal being whose body sparkled in the chamber's lights. "The Galactic Cooperation Accord is now the law of this galaxy." The chamber erupted in cheers from hundreds of different species, but Helen Davis knew that the real work was just beginning. Laws on paper meant nothing without the will to enforce them and the wisdom to make them work in practice. After the ceremony, Helen met with Jake Morrison and the other human leaders in a private room overlooking the capital city. Through the windows, they could see Zephyrian citizens walking alongside former slaves, all learning to live together as equals. "So what happens now?" asked Dr. Rachel Morgan, who had been working to establish medical cooperation between species. "Now, we prove that cooperation works better than conquest," Helen replied. "The Zephyrians ruled through fear for 3,000 years. We have to show a better way." Jake looked out at the bustling city below. "It won't be easy. There are still Zephyrian hardliners who want to restart the war, and some of the liberated species want revenge instead of reconciliation. That's why we need the Defense Force," added Commander Alex Chen, who now led the peacekeeping operations across the galaxy. "Not to conquer, but to protect the peace we've built." Amy Rodriguez, now Director of Galactic Communications, brought up another concern. "We're also getting reports of unknown threats from outside the galaxy, other empires that might see our new cooperation as weakness." Helen nodded. "Which is exactly why we need to stay united. Separately, we're just individual species. Together, we're something the galaxy has never seen before." Dr. Susan Lee, who had spent the last year studying alien psychology and sociology, offered her perspective. "The most interesting thing I've learned is that cooperation actually makes us stronger, not weaker. When different species work together, they solve problems that none of them could handle alone." As the meeting continued, reports came in from across the galaxy. Former Zephyrian worlds were transitioning to self-government. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries were reopening. Scientific discoveries were being shared freely between species for the first time in galactic history. But perhaps the most important news came from Lieutenant Emma Wright, who had been working with former Zephyrian officers to rebuild their military as a peacekeeping force. "Sir," she reported to Jake, "we just received a message from the edge of the galaxy. It's from a species called the Void Hunters. They're asking to join the Galactic Cooperation Accord. Jake raised an eyebrow. The Void Hunters? I thought they were just a legend. Apparently not. They say they've been watching our rebellion against the Empire. They're impressed by how we turned enemies into allies instead of just destroying them. Helen smiled. Send them an invitation to the next assembly meeting. If the legendary Void Hunters want to join our community, then we must be doing something right. As the sun set over Nexus Prime, the former capital of a galactic empire had become the headquarters of something entirely new. Species that had been enemies for millennia were working together. Technologies that had been hoarded by the powerful were now being shared with everyone. Jake Morrison walked through the city streets that evening, marveling at the sight of humans, Zephyrians, Andromedans, and dozens of other species all living and working together. Children of different species played together in the parks, learning each other's languages and customs. A young Zephyrian approached him, speaking in heavily accented English. "Excuse me, are you Admiral Morrison?" "Yes, I am. My father fought against you in the war. He says you could have destroyed us all, but you chose mercy instead." "Why?" Jake knelt down to speak to the child at eye level. "Because destroying your enemies doesn't end a war. It just creates new enemies. But if you can turn your enemies into friends, then everyone wins." The child nodded thoughtfully and ran back to his mixed group of friends. As Jake continued his walk, he thought about how much had changed. Humanity had started this journey facing extinction. Now they were helping to lead a galactic civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. The aliens had thought they were dealing with a dangerous, chaotic species. They were right. Humans were dangerous to empires, dictatorships, and anyone who believed that might made right. But they were also capable of something the galaxy had never seen before, turning the chaos of war into the order of peace through the simple idea that everyone deserved freedom and respect. Above him, ships from 100 different worlds moved through the night sky, all working together to explore the unknown regions of space. The galaxy was bigger than anyone had imagined, full of wonders and challenges that would require all species working together to overcome. The age of empire was indeed over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it started with a simple human idea that everyone, no matter how different, deserved a chance to be free.